Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA, and it has been a while. We are back with my friend Doug from Superformance Hilbank.
I think the last car you drove was the 289 slab side.
Yes.
Yeah, by Superformance, right?
Right.
So to put this in terms you and maybe some of the Chevy viewers can understand, this is the 289 1LE.
Okay, so this is the steroid version of the slab side.
Exactly.
Got it.
So from the back of the doors forward, the body is same as the slab side, except the front fenders are flared.
Right.
Yep. The chassis is exactly the same as the 289 slab side.
Okay.
They widen the rear end.
Right.
The reason for the flares and the widened rear end, when Shelby started putting serious horsepower under the car, he needed more tire.
Right, sure.
And this car was the one, once he started winning in the US road racing circuit, he wanted to go race international under FIA guidelines.
Got it.
And don't make me say it's like Federation de International Automobilia.
Yeah, we know
like
FIA is the definite easier way to go on.
One of them is, you know, my redneck cousins would say some of that European stuff.
Right. Yeah. I know folks like that as well.
So, you know, you needed more tire, but FIA rules said you had to completely cover the tire with the body of the car. All of a sudden, this thing looks completely different than
very
flat,
much so. A lot more reminiscent of the 427 car,
exactly.
which
you
is the
can
one
see
I'm
the
in
metamorphosis toward the 427
for
here
sure.
With the big, wide, aggressive hips.
For sure. But typical of Shelby in that day, which was same chassis, we're just going to modify what's needed so we can go out and be more competitive in different elements.
He would look for the weak point of the car, in this case traction with the slab side, put more tire under there, and then do what you have to do to accommodate the bigger tire. So this car we do in a Superformance version, licensed by Shelby. Then we do the Shelby continuation car with the Shelby chassis number. Shelby came out a couple years ago with the Bondurant series. So they blocked off 50 of the CSX 2000 series chassis numbers, which were the original.
But all done through you guys, right?
Yes.
That's all, when you're saying Shelby American with these 50,
that's the Shelby Legendary Cars part of our business.
Yes.
So you can choose one of two configurations on the 289 F.I.A. car, which we have here, or a Daytona Coupe.
Okay.
And on any of those, you can choose either a fiberglass or an aluminum body. So this happens to be one of the two liveries you can get configured for the 289 F.I.A. This is exactly as Bob Bondurant drove the car in the 65 Rossfeld Hill Climb.
So 289?
Actually, this is a 302 stroker. This is a bit of a sleeper. So this is a 364 cubic inch stroke 302, which loves to rev, 500 horsepower, 450 foot-pounds of torque.
And what does this one weigh?
When she's feeling a little heavy, she's weighing about 2450, maybe 2400. On a good day, 2350, but somewhere in the 2350 to 2450 range.
So you put you and me in there driving together, we're still well under 3,000 pounds with 500 horsepower?
Oh yeah.
Monster.
You've got the transverse leaf springs front and rear. On track, this car is such a hoot because you drive it old school. You throw it into the corner, you wait for those leaf springs to take a set. It takes about a half second, and then you just throttle steer it out. So if you look at footage from back in the day, you know, the original drifters were guys like Dave McDonald and Bob Bondurant and Ken Miles. All those guys driving for Shelby back in the day. Alan Grant. You saw them all just opposite lock, throttle steering the car out of the corner. And you can't help but have a big smile on your face. This is absolutely far and away my favorite of all the Cobras, the F.I.A., because it just makes me feel like a teenager looking for trouble. So a couple of things that I love, that's the story that goes along with the car. Let's go around and check out the dash. What to you is odd about this dash?
Well, that your Speedo is all the way over there.
Exactly.
Completely irrelevant to you.
Right. So when Shelby took this car to tech inspection the first time, the FIA scrutineer looked at the car and said, you can't race this car, it doesn't have a speedometer. And Shelby in his Texas accent, he's like, what do you mean? Race car, don't need a speedometer.
Right.
And he's like, no, rules say you got to have a speedometer, you can't race the car. So he told Phil Remington, he's like, put a speedometer in the goddamn car and put it as far over there as you can. So that was his way of kind
got a
of
Speedo now.
flipping off the FIA
That's great.
a little bit.
I love it.
So he's like,
what a great attitude.
And it's
man.
true, like race cars, nobody looks at
you
the
need the
speedometer.
tack.
Yeah, you need the tack.
Like you're really going to eye the Speedo while you're driving along? I mean, come on.
Which is front and center. And this is one of the touches for the Bondurant series that sets it apart from the regular F.I.A. car.
Yeah.
One is the roll bar. This doesn't have the cross brace that goes down by the passenger seat that you would normally see in a 289 car.
Yeah.
And that's because this is the roll bar Bob ran in 65 at the hill climb.
Got it.
The hill climb, he didn't think he needed that cross brace. So they didn't put it in the car and made it lighter.
Well.
The other thing is the tachometer. So it's got the Stewart Warner gauges that were period correct for the 289.
Yep.
But if you look, Bob preferred the Smith's tachometer with the telltale on it. So we've got the Smith's tachometer true to the original car.
And is that really where this car redlines is up around $7,000?
Yeah. The 302s are very high revving motors.
This thing wants to rev.
It does. You'll see.
Wow.
Because you will be driving this.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
And hopefully the way it's intended to be driven.
Well, partially.
I know you're very respectful
I always
of the cars,
drive it
blah,
like
blah,
it's somebody
blah.
else's car and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
So the other thing about the car.
Yeah.
The dimples on the truck.
I was wondering the same thing when you were pulling it off the trailer.
So Shelby, he puts a speedometer in the car. He comes back to the scrutineer. Scrutineer says, you still don't pass. And at this point, Shelby's pissed.
Right.
He's like, what now? And he's like, they had a box of a certain size representing luggage that had to fit in the trunk. So you saw this in Ford versus Ferrari.
Right, where Ken Miles starts bashing on it.
But that's really not what happened. That was an embellishment for the movie just to portray Ken Miles as a hothead.
Yeah.
So what Shelby did, because when they put the box in the trunk, it would only close to about here.
Right.
Keep in mind, these were alloy body cars. So Shelby just starts slamming the trunk until he dents it enough.
Until it's shut.
Yeah. And then you'll see these two holes in the back. So what Shelby did is, because once he dented it enough, the trunk still wouldn't latch very good. So he drilled holes in here and put a bungee cord, wrapped it around the handle.
Come on.
Yeah. And that's how the cars raced. And then he said, give me your box, I got 4 more cars to do.
I love it, man. That's just a different era. Like, I just don't know that people would have that level of just that Shelby attitude of like, oh, we're racing.
Yeah, we're going to make this happen.
We're racing. We came here to race and came here to win, Yeah. And another difference that I noticed as you were pulling the car in is, unless I'm off on this one, is the slab side car we drove, pipes come out the rear.
Yeah.
This, they're coming out the side, but they're not like the 427 car that protrude out to the side that are total begging to burn the hell out of your leg.
Right.
These are kind of tucked.
Yeah. So keep in mind, these were SoCal hot rodders, right?
Yeah.
So you take a typical 289 car with undercar rear exit exhaust, you cut it off right in front of the mufflers and just bend it out.
Right.
That's what they did.
Sure.
They just cut off the mufflers, because you don't need mufflers on a race car,
right,
and just bent it out right under the car. So from here to here, it's a 289 slab side, and then they cut off the mufflers and just bend it out.
Got it.
Yeah.
And is this car straight piped? Is there no muffler?
There might be a little bit of muffler, a little bit of glass pack maybe in there, but yeah, not much. For whatever reason, and this is something I still need to research myself, the front wheel centers were painted white and the rears were raw.
I just noticed that.
Yeah.
And so that's how it was. So you guys did it here that way.
So it's done exactly how Bob drove the car in 65 at the Rossfeld Hill Climb.
And you don't know what the reason for that is. They probably grabbed that off another car and that off another car and went, throw it on there and let's go racing.
It probably is.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't know it was down. You guys go to that level of accuracy on the Shelby Legendary cars, right? Where you go that accuracy, and then it's the Superformance cars where you give a little more leeway, some chassis changes on certain cars. And
exactly.
Yeah. So as we're standing here talking, I'm noticing for the first time here that 2 completely different seats.
Yeah.
Is that again because of?
It's because of Bob Bondurant.
Okay.
Bob liked this seat better for racing than the standard Cobra seat. You still had to have your passenger seat in the car, but this seat was also a little bit lighter, and it gave you a little more side-to-side support. So especially for the hill climbs, you're doing tight turns. Right. So, this holds you a little firmer in the seat. So,
got it. Okay.
But that's the way Bob raced it in 65, so that's the way we produce it now. I had a young couple come in on Saturday looking at a Superformance Mark III, and we went through the whole thing, spent about an hour and a half talking about the cars, and the guy's like, what's the chances we can take one out for a test drive? And I'm like, oh, 100%. And he's like, I was kind of hoping you would say, it's time to stop looking and get cooking. So he's a fan.
So he had seen the video.
He's
That's
a fan.
great.
Yeah.
Doug's famous line, man. Didn't you say that the first time? I was like, I think we should go for a drive.
It's time to stop looking and get cooking.
That's it, man. Let's go for a drive.
Let's do it.
Such a noticeable difference in the suspension.
Yeah.
This car feels like a 60s car.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that bad. I just mean it's like if you wanted this to feel like a modern car, this isn't the car for you to get.
Definitely old school vibes here.
Yeah. That alone is worth the price of admission, I swear.
Yeah.
The sounds. That's non-stop, isn't it?
Non-stop.
Wow. This thing is so fun.
Such a nice race car sound.
I mean, this is the first one that's turned me into a silent guy over here. Usually I
Does all
can't.
the talking.
Usually I can't shut up, but this thing just all the sounds and it really requires. This thing requires a different level of focus than some of the other cars I've driven from you guys.
Wow, wow, wow on this car. Now, obviously, any of you guys that have been following the channel, you've seen that we've shot with Superformance multiple times. We've shot 427 Cobra, the 289 slab side Cobra, the other cars that I can't even think of right now, honestly, because I'm so completely in love with this car. I love that it fights you the whole time, that it makes you work for it. You gotta bang the gears. You gotta dig into the accelerator. You got to get way up in the power band. I mean, my arms are actually tired from this. And when I just pulled back into the shop, you know, some people say, wow, that's better than, you know, I guess it's internet. We're allowed to say sex, right? Yeah, that. It was really that good. I mean, I've fallen in love with each of their cars as I've driven them. This is the one for me. I'm in love with this car. Anyways, you guys, I hope you had a fraction of as much fun as I had, because that was a complete blast for me. As always, thank you for hanging and watching and supporting what we do. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next episode. All right, man. Later.